and we do ads management for hundreds of different people. We've seen a lot of stuff. That's why ownership, which we're talking about, of even like the granular details of, all right, how can I protect myself by setting up this company? Because if they change all the laws, then that changes for everybody, right? So now we're playing this big game, big business game, big political game, all of it. Not the most fun thing for artists. So who's going to play that game for you?
Right.
Like, do you trust this label? If you don't trust them, how are you going to protect yourself? That's really what we're going over here.
Yeah.
So in terms of even like that topic and setting up the future of the industry, how is all that going to work together in your eyes? And I definitely, people have heard my thoughts on it, but how is all that going to work together with Web3, with NFTs, with smart contracts, social tokens? How is that, like, how do you see that all coming together?
Yeah, I see it, well, from what I've seen already. And I've been on this for a minute, probably since 2017, because I had these contracts drawn out in pictures. I was like, this is how contracts should look. I know this stuff is confusing to artists, and nobody wants to read this law. The law is like this thick. Just the copyrights. It's like, oh my God, you know what I mean? And just reading it is confusing. So how do we go from, this is, before I got on, well, we're talking about smart contracts, before I got to the smart contract phase of everything, it was, how do I turn this into pictures so that we can see it on a dashboard? Every time we log in, we should be able to see, you know what I mean, how much revenue was made, who owns what, you know, if there was some debt involved, you know, what's the recoupment? And we can see bits and pieces of this coming in through companies like DistroKid, allowing us to do the splits function on there. You know, for those of you all who are more, you know, in tune to Web3, you've seen stuff like Royal.io, you've seen Republic, you've seen the security NFTs coming in, and these are based on these smart contracts. What we didn't change was the law, but it's the ability to have this enacted digitally to function where we take the trust out of someone reading the contract and redlining it, and we build it. You know what I mean?
What's a security NFT for those that don't?
So the security NFT is approved by the Security and Exchange Commission so that it will be a viable investment, so that the investor can bet that they will make at least the money back, which is what happened in the little pump deal. Like, I did a breakdown of it on my channel, and I said in about 3 years, all the investors can make their money back, no matter what you invested in. And it's very hard to get that because that's something new for NFTs and for assets like copyrights, which is what it was. It was on the musical work asset and the sound recording asset. That's what the NFT was for, right? And of course, you know, the public version, you get a little, you know, picture to go with it saying that you own this portion. But the Security and Exchange Commission, and I know it's a little advanced for some of the artists who may be listening, but the Securities and Exchange Commission has to approve that investment, right? To get people to invest so that they can invest that way. This process is a little long, but I can see that at the rate things are moving with smart contracts, you won't always have people who care about that. You know what I mean? That's only if you take this investment public, which is what it was. But if you're, you know, behind the scenes, let's say you and I, we want to invest $100,000 into some venture, you know, we do the contract, the smart contract, and the money, the transactions come in, you know, it splits out how it's supposed to split out. And then we take the trust factor out of, hey, we got to sit with this lawyer, we got to sit with this, yada, yada, something go right. You know what I mean? So that's where I see it going with Web3 so far. And of course, I know that there are things out there as far as tokens and things like that. But, you know, I'm learning a little bit about that.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So the security, all right, so a security, just for, it's an investment with an expectation of profit. That's what you can boil down a security to.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
With a lot of these things in Web3, there's not clear laws on them because there are legitimately, it's a gray asset. So it could be like a social token, which is, it's a currency that is actually used for. It could be you sell show tickets in it, you sell merch in it. People are paying you in this currency for this product. So the primary purpose of it is not necessarily the expectation of profit with those. So look, we're not giving out financial advice, not giving out legal advice on this. Consult your financial advisor, fiduciary for all your financial needs and responsibilities. Disclaimer. But for the NFTs where people are selling their music royalties and things like that, essentially it's more of a be careful, right? So if you have a track record of success, and the SEC could make an argument that this would be an expectation of profit on these, by all means do your own research, DYOR. For a lot of newer artists where the argument would more so be on the line of, there wasn't necessarily an expectation of profit here. Like this was used as a currency, this was used as tickets, this was used as, this was tied in with my social token. They bought this with my social token. Then there is a gray area in it all. I know this because I have, in doing my taxes for the last year, there is no clear documentation on social tokens, and we have been big pushers of social tokens on our channel. So in the letter of the law with this, they'll come in and, in my eyes, screw it up. But they'll come in and give hard and fast laws eventually, as it's bigger. But it's a very interesting time in the industry. You're saying as far as smart contracts, this should be easily accessible. It should be in a picture online, essentially. Are you saying that in terms of in a way for people to read?
Yeah, I mean, okay, so say if we do an NFT together, and that's what, and look, for the audience, I'm not well versed on NFTs, but I'm in the smart contract. So I know that they play hand in hand together, and you need that to make that work. So however advanced you want to make it, you know what I mean? When that sale happens, that's the beauty of having it there. Relationships come and go. You know what I mean? And when you have that in place, it definitely helps the process. It helps when I can just open up my phone on the app and see what's going on. You know what I mean? For the average person who's not going to get involved with it, because there are a lot of people just make money. They don't pay taxes. They don't care about the growth. They care about the creative. So I feel that it should be that way. And correct me if I'm wrong, if you've seen some sources out there that can play to this, that have, you know what I mean, allowed you to witness what's going on a dashboard.
You're saying in terms of
the contract itself.
The contract itself. I'll say they switched it into white papers.
Okay.
So whenever, token projects come out, there's usually, it's called just a white paper. It would be like a wiki link or something like that, where it's broken down, where it's more consumable for the average person to read through it. If they have a specific question, they just type it into the box, they ask that specific question. And it's a lot easier to go through than just one single PDF of 50 pages or 100 pages. It's going through all this legalese, and it's a lot more consumable than the contracts of the past. So they switched it from those contracts, and it is they'll tell you what the smart contract is about, but it'll be in the form of a white paper, a wiki document.
Okay.
But as for the NFTs, I want to say it a bit more clearly for people too. Expectation of profit. If you launch a brand spanking new song, and you couldn't make an argument that there's XYZ expectation of profit, a little bit safer as well. So for brand new songs versus established songs, have a little bit more of a gray area there, because I do think that's very useful for artists in terms of the future of the music industry. We talked about record labels, and with the new music industry, a record label, if you break it down, yes, it is all the resources, but the technology is now replacing a lot of this. So when you have the smart contract, you don't necessarily need the lawyer as much because the contract's already written.
Right.
Like, what's the lawyer going to come in and do? They're not going to rewrite it because it's already set in stone with the technology. All this is software, guys. We're just talking about software programs that once you push a button, if somebody tries to go mess with it, it alerts everybody else who's in the network, essentially. So if somebody, like Bitcoin, we've all heard about Bitcoin. Somebody tries to go mess with it, there's a bunch of decentralized nodes, computers, people behind it that are saying, somebody tried to go mess with this, we're not going to verify the next transaction that comes up. So whenever you have these smart contracts and this technology in there, when people are trying to read it, or this lawyer's trying to bill you for XYZ time, well, it's already in there. Like, you're taking out a lot of the occupations that people had, and they need to find a workaround of that, or they can work in the company that's making the smart contract and all that stuff. But as far as the funding and you running the label, I believe it makes it a lot easier. To run the label yourself.
I agree.
Because you're now you're going straight to the funding. People say it's funding from your fans, but to be honest, it's going to be at least half, if not more, from investors and people with money. Seeing this firsthand, the average everyday person is going to put in maybe $100, maybe every 6 months or something, something like that. Your investors are going to be putting in $3K, $5K, $10K, $100K, $1 million per trade, to where you're not necessarily owned by them. This is a public good, so to speak.
Yeah.
But you do get to use that money how you see fit in growing your business. You essentially turn into your own hedge fund.
Right.
Like, this is making a bunch of little hedge funds out there, and it's grouped together into one bigger one, which would be, for a lot of entities, they sell in Ethereum. So think of Ethereum as this big hedge fund with all these little hedge funds out there. And then for some of these websites, which we're going into, Rally.io would be a hedge fund under a hedge fund making little hedge funds. But I don't want people to think of that as, multi-level marketing. It really is that the average everyday person is not going to go make their own token and make sure people can buy it with a credit card or debit card. You're talking about leaving money on the table. If you make it harder for people to buy something, you're leaving money on the table. Same concept, same broad concept. So it's a company that is making it easier for people to make their own tokens, make their NFTs in a way that's consumable, and that people, like the average everyday person, can go buy. And it's set up in a way that is a bit more, has more protections than some other markets for the average everyday person. So even going into, we talked about World.io. For people who don't know what that is, it's essentially a website that artists will go on and sell some of their song royalties to the public. It could be like 25% of the royalties for a song that they break down into 3 different tiers, and it'll be a bronze NFT level that may have like 200 copies in it. It might be a silver one that has like 50 copies, and then a gold one that has like 10 copies in it. And each tier will progressively have more percentage that you own per NFT of the song. They're raising this money from the public, and then any secondary sales of the NFT you also get paid on. So they can set it that if you sell your NFT to somebody else, one, is way easier with NFTs to sell your rights to somebody else. You just sell it on a marketplace rather than hiring these lawyers and doing all this other stuff to sell it. Just sell it right then and there to the next person. And also, you can get like whatever percentage you said, 5%, 10%, so on and so forth, of that secondary sale. You do get another royalty. We've just introduced another royalty into this picture of secondary NFT sales or social token sales.
That's my concern. Like when people sell, like what does that look like? You know what I mean? When I'm talking, because we haven't really seen this on a large scale yet.
For NFTs or for social tokens?
No, I mean for at least for me, because I'm not really in the space like that. So for the token itself or for the NFT where we use it as, you know, people resell it and resell it and resell it, how does that breakdown look, man? You know?
It's pretty clean in the smart contract. So it's with the NFT, it's a non-fungible token, meaning I have 1,000 copies of this and each one is not like the other. So they're not like kind. Like the gold one is different than the silver one, and there's only 10 of this one. And if I own the 247th copy, it's not the 248th. So the 248th might sell for a different amount than whatever I put mine up for. Whereas if I have a stock or a fungible token like Bitcoin, then I'm looking at an order book of here's what people are willing to sell it for. An order book is just something that like it'll list everything that's for sale, list all the buyers and the price they want to buy it at, and then in between the sell and the buy is the market price. All right. So with an NFT, you're not really getting as many buyers with the NFT because there's so limited a copy. Like there might only be 250 NFTs in a collection, whereas a stock or a coin or token is going to have like millions of shares or coins or tokens. So how it works is that there does need to be a buyer on the other end of it. So you have to have demand. Just like with a stock, you still have to have demand of something. Somebody has to want to buy it. So if you have these song royalties that you want to sell with this NFT collection and you don't know how to market anything, then it's like why would anybody buy it? You have to be able to sell it. But after that, it's built into the smart contract where when I buy this, it automatically goes to the original contract creator. That 5% or 10%, whatever you set that as, just goes straight to you. And then the 95% goes to whoever sold it. So pretty clean, to be honest with you. The social tokens are this is why I'm a proponent of people going to a company to launch their social token. It does have some downsides. The centralization, which I'll go into in a second, is a little bit of a downside. But whenever you sell the social token, at least on Rally.io, like we have Omari coin, and Omari, people can buy our services through the coin. But let's say they want to just sell some instead of holding on to it. They just convert it back to Rally, which is the base currency of the website, and we get the fee. Like whenever you buy an options contract or you buy a futures contract or some instrument out there, the exchange gets a fee. Like they just charge you a little bit whenever you buy one or sell one. That fee on Rally.io goes to the creator of the coin, whoever the influencer is behind that. So let's say Casey has Music Money Makeover coin. Hint, hint, hint. And Casey sets this up and he's like, all right, guys, my merch, some of my courses are available for sale in the MMM coin. That whenever people sell that, you get the fee of them selling it. So volume is good, meaning if people are on there just speculating, I don't really care that they're speculating because I'm getting this feedback. Now, obviously, it's good if they hold it too because that's helping the supporters of my currency. Also, with it, there's a built-in dividend structure. So every week, I'm bringing more people to buy my coin, and they're using it, they're exchanging with it. Some people are now speculating on it because they see that it's a good currency, and they're holding some. You get more weekly dividends. They're called rewards, but they act like dividends. So they go straight into your account. Everybody who holds some of your coin actually gets these dividends. So that's why more people would want to hold it versus selling it if it's a good one. So that turns you into your own hedge fund. Now, when we get into breaking down, like leaving money on the table, Now you take all that money that you've now accumulated, you can put it into your hedge fund structure to where I personally, I'm not one of the guys that's like you put 100% of all your money into one company. But let's say you have like a significant portion in yourself. Like, yes, you should believe in yourself more than me personally. I believe in my abilities more than just leaving all my money to a 401k or to something like that. So whenever you control your company, like you control how the coin's used and the prices for it and everything, you can grow it at a different rate than Amazon can grow theirs.
Right.
Like when people leave money with Amazon, they're just saying, I think Amazon's better at growing my money than I am, which is very true for a lot of, a lot of different situations. But that's what Rally is. It's taking the token, a social token. It can be now be used as a currency. It could even be, we talked about people selling their song royalties. It could be selling a YouTube royalty. It can be doing anything. It's just distributing it to the market. Now, where that blurry line comes in was what expectation of profit was there? Was there expectation of profit?
Right.
Is it tied in with the social token to where it's actually used as a currency rather than just solely expectation of profit? So right now, legally speaking, the social token is not a security.
Yeah.
It is, under the Howey test, it functions more as a currency than a security.
Yeah.
So if people are familiar with the lawsuit with Ripple, they were trying to say that, Ripple is just a security and you guys are launching it as this coin, but you got to come through us now and go through our paperwork and our procedure and pay us, whatever lost fees and all that. So
this is going to make it a lot longer process when you're just going through those checks and balances, man.
I believe that whenever this is the currency, there's a reason that Bitcoin is not a security though, because it functions as a currency. For a personal experience, setting up the social token was not a super long experience. It was pretty easy on Rally.io. And even like doing the NFTs, they're pretty easy on there. The only way that it gets to be a headache is if the government comes in and screws it up.
Yeah.
So they have a decent track record of doing that, but we'll see. We'll see. It'll definitely get interesting in the future. But I wouldn't shy away from doing this because of any of that. I would definitely do it. Maybe you set aside some money for taxes. Don't go blow all your money. And like once you get it in, like don't just go spend it all.
Right.
Even for people new to business, like you don't just go spend all your profit. You set aside some for taxes. If you're setting it up yourself, set aside at least a quarter of all the money that comes in. If you have a CPA, typically they're good enough in getting it down to some percentage. Like I said, I'm not a financial advisor or tax expert or anything. So, but typically they're better about helping you find a better percentage that's the tax code is essentially there to help you help the government,
right,
is what it's saying.
Right.
A lot of people don't see it that way.
Yeah, but that's what it is, though.
Yes, it's help you help the government. The less burden you put on the government, the more breaks you should get, because you're giving people jobs or helping them feed their family. You're helping do all these things for society that makes the burden on the government less. So that's why they give you incentives. This is just a code of tax breaks that when you work with them, they'll work with you.
Yeah,
that's all it is.